the previous video, we see terms that describe uniform motion, and we see distance and displacement. Now let's see speed and velocity. First, let's see what speed means. Speed is how fast a body is moving. How fast the body is moving. It is a scalar quantity. It is a scalar quantity, which means having only magnitude. Speed is the ratio of distance to time, and symbolically speed is equal to distance over time, t, and the unit where v is the speed, s distance, and t time. The speed is a scalar quantity, and the SI unit of speed is meter per second, and we can write meter per second as ms the power of minus 1. And the dimensional expression of speed, dimensional expression of speed, dimensional expression means expressing using a fundamental unit, which is L, S, its time, power of minus 1. We're discussing about a uniform motion, but in reality, the body may not have, the body or an object may not have equal velocity, which means sometimes speed up, sometimes speed down. Therefore, we are taking the average speed. Average speed is equal to total distance divided by total time. Total distance divided by total time. As an example, for a body to move from point A to point B with a velocity v1, and if it is returned back to A with a uniform velocity v2, therefore the average speed is given by v average equals total distance divided by total time. And let's distance between point A and point B, let's d. Therefore, the total distance equals d plus d, and the total time from A to B time, let's t1, and from B 2a times t2, and let's solve t1 equals distance over speed v1, and t2 which is equal to distance over speed 2. Therefore, the total time t total equals d over v1 plus d over v2. Therefore, v2 times d, this is equal to v2 times d, d times v2 plus v1 times d, d times v1 over v1 times v2, v1 times v2. Therefore, the total time d we can factorize into v1 plus v2 over v1 times v2, and this is equal to twice d over d into v1 plus v2 over v1 times v2. Therefore, the average speed v average equals d by d, and v1 v2 up twice v1 times v2 over v1 plus v2. This is the average speed if they are moving with speed v1 from A to B, and from B to A with the speed v2. The average speed equals twice v1 times v2 over v1 plus v2. Then SI unit of speed, SI unit of speed are kilometer per hour, mile per second, centimeter per second, and so on. And there is a relationship between meter per second and kilometer per hour, which means 1 meter per second equals 3.6 kilometer per hour. The second term that explains a uniform motion is velocity. Velocity is a speed in a specified direction, and it has the same unit as a speed, which is meter per second, SI unit meter per second. Both speed and velocity have a magnitude. Therefore, velocity mathematically equals displacement over time t. Therefore, velocity v equals displacement over time. And the average velocity v average equals displacement at t2 minus displacement at t1 over t2 minus t1. This is the average velocity. Now we are introducing a variable which is instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity, it is a velocity at instant of time. It is the velocity at instant of time, or instantaneous velocity is, it is average velocity. It is the average velocity computed at t2 minus t1 close to 0. Therefore, instantaneous velocity v instantaneous equals the limit of average velocity x at t2 minus x at t1 over t2 minus t1 as t2 minus t1, t2 minus t1 close to 0. We use this the derivative notation, or the derivative of displacement with respect to time is the instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity is dx by dt. Now let's see example related on average velocity and instantaneous velocity.